If I was to ever randomly want to do a coffee and bakery, like you almost have to hire someone that runs it. You know what I mean? Like that's like,
Yeah.
this is my business and we just partnered together. Like I helped you get started because also there's just so much attention to detail in baking with quality control and stuff. You added that on top of like managing your own coffee shop. I think that would be a lot to be honest.
Thinking about my friends, Indie Coffee Coalition, just thinking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars we've saved coffee shop owners just like you, who are not franchisees, who are looking for deals on their fat mix and their energy drinks. Why should the franchises get all the deals, right? Indie Coffee Coalition was built with the idea of saving you, the little guy, tons of cash. So if you're a coffee shop owner, you have 1 to 3 coffee shops, and you're serving blended drinks or energy drinks, we can substantially save you money and keep more money in your pocket. Set up a call. I'd love to talk with you. Indie Coffee Coalition, keeping money in your pocket.
Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club, where we discuss all of the insights, expertise, and drama that goes into making your passion your profession. Our hosts, Aaron, Ben, and Drew, are 3 coffee experts who have taken their coffee experience and turned it into true expertise. They have consulted with major coffee brands throughout the United States and beyond, providing operations expertise and growth strategy for drive-thru openings, multiple locations, and everything in between. So brew yourself a cup and hang out a bit with the Coffee Experts Club.
Hey boys, we're here for Coffee Experts Club. Here we are. Coffee Experts Club again this week. Ben, Drew, excited to see you two guys. How you doing today?
Good.
Fantastic.
Cheers to my biggest fans out there. Thanks for
That's
watching.
right. Biggest ones, the biggest ones. We love it.
He knows that person by
Guys,
name.
I sent you a gift later this year. Hey, so today I'm excited on the show because we're talking to somebody that's been a longtime friend of the 3 of us. Somebody that, has like had origins and roots similar for all of us coming out of Roasters Coffee back in the day, the OG. But this dude, I feel like I've just watched him ascend in coffee all the way through. He started as a barista and kind of worked his way all the way up to the point where he was helping out with maintenance of machines and got to know all the machines very intimately. Ascended up again to be a master roaster within all of Roasters, providing coffee for all 15 stores for the Roasters crew back then, but also selling wholesale. I think this guy has been amazing. He's gone on to do coffee himself again. He did roasting for BlackRock Coffee for a while, where he was providing like so many beans all across the nation for BlackRock outfit, but then has come back to doing independence. And he's working for a company now and has done front end managing and back end managing on both sides of the process. I'm excited to hear all of his ins and outs of business. So with no further ado, let's bring forward Cody Anderson from Ethos.
Cody
Coffee.
Anderson. No.
Brother, mustache game strong. So
yeah.
I know those listening to the podcast don't see, but Tom Selleck would be proud. You're making him proud in this room, so just so you know.
I just shaved right before this, so it's kind of fresh right now.
It looks fresh. Looks amazing.
Not on the beard game like you guys, but we'll get there eventually.
I mean, come back on the show. Next time we have you on the show, bring the beard. And then we can be 4 dudes with a beard.
All right.
Next time, have a beard and no mustache. Actually, that'd be even better.
Yeah, inverted.
I can do the goatee. The goatee comes in pretty strong, but my lady not super interested in seeing that on my face.
Dude, tell us about life, Cody. Tell us where you're at. Tell us what you're doing these days. And then Ben and Drew, I know you've got deep ties with Cody, lots of good years of friendship. So jump in there and let's talk to him a little bit today about things he's learned and grown in.
Yeah. So obviously left BlackRock early last year and moved back to Tri-Cities. I was with them for about 2 years and did kind of like their head roasting, quality control there. Moved back, kind of found myself in random jobs for like a month, just trying to figure out what I'd want to do, and approached by Ethos Bakery, so a local bakery in town, and they were looking for kind of a general manager, but someone can kind of just like fill in random places. They kind of had a gap in management and didn't really have a defined role for me to start. It was just kind of like, we know your experience, we know you work with roasters, and was kind of jack of all trades there. So they thought maybe it'd be a good fit to kind of put me in and see where I could fit in. So started out doing kind of front of house management. One of their managers had just left, so kind of jumped in the role and tried to, get their team together and, start building a better team, better structure, kind of looking at the cogs and all that stuff, like just trying to make sure the numbers make sense, trying to kind of increase, revenue, traffic coming in. And then I was also starting to do a little bit of like the back end work. So administrative stuff with flour milling. So we mill our own flour, we ship our own flour, and then we also do
Wow.
wholesale pastries locally. And so I started kind of stepping in that role of like managing the invoicing and kind of being that point of contact for those wholesale customers if they need to change their order, if they need to, if they have any discrepancies on their order and things like that. And then we also, doing that kind of the milling. I've actually been doing the milling myself, which is kind of like a big giant coffee grinder in a sense, but you're putting grain in it rather than like coffee beans. So kind of funny. It's like full circle. It's like, right back to the roots there. So,
Right back to the
uh,
warehouse.
yeah, pretty much like warehouse life, I guess. So, and then shipping out orders and stuff, packaging and shipping them, printing them off and stuff. So it's funny because it reminds me a lot of, the early days at Roasters, like packaging and shipping the orders out and stuff. So
Scoop for the beans, put them in the bag, roll it out. Like,
literally,
you and I
I do.
you and I had so many conversations about, dude, I can't keep rolling bags like this. Like it's so many bags of beans going out, so many bags of beans going out. You're like, I just need help. And I remember us like rolling Selena, like all these different randos that we would just throw at Cody to try and help us keep up with
About that.
bag development and all of just the headache of
Well,
like how much
it was
production costs.
it was that, and then the random like Wes is like, hey, let's do 500 bags like next weekend.
Amazon fulfillment house, right? You just had to go like ship out just a bunch of bags to Amazon fulfillment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I got a new manager in there, so trained her up. She used to actually work at Roasters as well. And she just has more time dedicated to I was getting kind of pulled all over the place. And so
Yeah.
I just kind of said, hey, we should probably find someone that just want to be like dedicated to this role and then like train them up. And so right now I'm not doing as much. I even work on bar a little bit too, but it's like 1 to 2 days a week, maybe. And the rest is kind of doing the back end logistics and stuff like that. And they're
Sure.
planning on opening a new building here in the next month. So I've been doing a lot of kind of like what I did for Roasters. So they're having me like going to be installing espresso machines and some ice machines, random things like that. So
Second location, or is it like just a bigger location for the one they're in right now?
it's going to be a second location, but it's also way bigger. This will move. So right now they're in a small shop, another little tiny production area. So they have like their ovens in there and stuff. So the production area will move over to the new place, and it's like a 3,000 square foot building. And so they'll have,
So,
2/3 of that will be their production. So it's a big production area. The milling will be there. And then the front half will be retail. So they have a retail location there as well.
with the small retail space that's over here, was it difficult like to try and figure out, or I guess was it the same? Because it's not a drive-through, and it's primarily like bakery, but also coffee. Like, was it hard to figure out the traffic pattern of like, okay, this is what the times people are coming in? Like, was it like really different from what we did like roaster style? You have your 5 o'clock rush, your 8 o'clock rush, or whatever it is. Or is it pretty much the same?
The area we're located in, the Parkway, is kind of a strange place because the weekends are pretty busy, pretty comparable to like a normal day at Roasters, but like they're pretty busy. And then you have like events like markets that get really busy. And we have like
Right.
the farmers market in there. But not having a drive-through definitely hurts, not having that like ease of access. And a lot of people don't like the parking there. But you have regular customers that will come in every day, and we don't really open super early. So we open at like 7 o'clock. So the traffic pattern is a little weird, and it's usually busier like pretty much from when we open till like 12 to 1. And then it just kind of maybe get a rush when everyone gets off of work since we're off of G-Way.
Sure.
It's pretty much like whoever's trickling in from like 1 to 5 o'clock is kind of our like
Yep.
slower period. But yeah, it's been weird. Some days you'll just have like a random Wednesday be like really popping and you're like, what's going on around here? It's so hard to predict around there. But yeah, I think not having a drive through that definitely hurts. But for that setup, I don't know how it'll be interesting at the new place. I know one of their other locations had a drive through before,
Mhm.
but with having a bakery and like baked goods and stuff, like, I'm not really accustomed to that being just in coffee. So
Yeah,
people
that
want
would be
pizza.
tough because people want to stay and look at those pastries, right? Like, how do you look
Right.
at all those pastries in a drive? That would be really tough.
And like say you want, but maybe it's out or something. And so I want, this croissant, and then they go and check and they're like, actually we're out. And then I want this muffin, then let me go check. And then they're out. Like
Yeah.
it's all that walking back and forth. So I don't know. They may have a system I wasn't there when they had the other location, so they may have a system in place for that. But
So obviously what you're doing, Cody, is so much different than anything that we do on Coffee Experts. Like all of the locations we've opened, everybody that we've helped like start new locations, start new business, all those things, none of them have ever created their own baked goods, right? That's always something we've been like, hey,
Yeah.
stick to your lane, stay in your lane. You create coffee, partner up with a bakery that does baked goods, have them bring us stuff. Do you do some markup, make money on their energy, but don't like do it yourself. But I know Drew is always dreaming, like always in his brain, like down in Belize, it's different in Belize, right? Like with Coffee de los Mayas down there, where it's like Drew's always like, we should just start a business. We should start like Drew has a couple like 7 different ancillary businesses outside of Coffee de los Mayas that we'd like to start. And we get baked goods now from a baker down there. But would you say like it divides your attention, like to do how to like it 2 different businesses, right? Like all of the baking happens and then like it has nothing really to do with the retail. Like this is just fulfilling on whatever you're doing. And is it hard being split attention like that where right? Because it's unless are you using the same people? Are you hiring 2 different kinds of people? And it would seem like shifts would be different too. You want somebody baking all night, so it's available for you first thing the next morning, or like maybe talk about that a little bit. Because I'm sure there are people out there that dream about could I do it all? But would you say it's been a benefit for Ethos, or what are your thoughts?
well, so I think Ethos is bakery first, right? That's their mentality. We create baked goods and breads
Yeah.
first, and it's kind of you know, an ancillary thing that we have coffee in our shops. Like,
Mm.
and I feel like it's easier to hire baristas and stuff. So, hiring bakers is pretty hard. We're having kind of, a pain point of hiring a good solid baking crew, people that have
Yeah.
maybe experience. And then the other thing that is like, that I've always like talked about is like labor. Labor is so high for a baking team. Cause they're usually our bakers start at like 3 a.m. and you have people going till all the way till like 7 p.m. sometimes. So, and like our shop doesn't even open till 7 a.m. So, you have 4 hours of just no revenue coming in and just payroll going out. So, it's hard. I
Yeah.
think ingredients with flour and stuff can be kind of cheap and like how much you can make, but it's a lot of like planning, like, you know, if I was to ever randomly want to do a coffee and bakery, like you almost have to hire someone that runs it. You know what I mean? Like that's like,
Yeah.
this is my business and we just partnered together. Like I helped you get started because also there's just so much attention to detail in baking with quality control and stuff. If you added that on top of like managing your own coffee shop, I think that would be a lot to be honest. So
Sure.
Your whole upswing at Roasters was kind of tech oriented and bean oriented, production oriented, warehouse oriented. And then you transition into people management.
yeah.
Here's what your experience was kind of like, and what are some things that you learned moving to that side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I had people like working under me there, but in a warehouse with just a bunch of bros, it's so much different, so much more relaxing and easier. I have high respect for people that can manage people well because there's a lot at all times, and it's almost like a daily thing. It was constantly scheduling problems or personal problems or things like that. It's just and then keeping them like accountable for their tasks. It's like babysitting. And it was just like, I don't remember having to do this as much, with guys. It was kind of, or just the guys in the warehouse kind of job. It was very much so just, hey, bro, like, I need you to do this next time. Okay. And maybe they didn't do it, but like, within a couple of times they'd get it. But when you're managing like a shop where it's like you got customer facing things and, there's a lot of fine details that it's like, oh, you fixed that problem this week, but now this week you got another problem that you need to like figure out. So it was definitely a change. I don't know if that's the best fit for me, honestly. I'm pretty quick at saying like I'm not the greatest at something, but I mean, I think I did fine in certain areas, but the day-to-day stuff when I got all the other things that I'm kind of managing on the other side, that kind of was harder to kind of go back to every time. Yeah, it's definitely a tough switch. I'm better at managing myself, I think.
That's what
Got it.
we were just talking in the last podcast about like people, starting coffee shops, not knowing like how much business there is in a coffee shop. It's not just like making a cup and putting it out a window. It's like actually a lot of work on the back end. That's
Yeah.
definitely what people don't think about, like dealing with employees and employee issues. Like And even if like you have a shop of say maybe 10 employees, like if there's one employee who's, causing issues, it's just a drag. You're like, oh, I have to talk to this person again. I have to train this person again. Should I fire this person and then go through the headache of like trying to find somebody to train again? Like there's so much when it comes to managing people that you just don't think about when you've never done it.
Yeah, I wish I thought of not trying to kind of hold on to people as long. Like, obviously they're great and stuff, and they're having like some issues personally and stuff like that. It's willing, but there was a couple of times where I just held on for way too long. Obviously, this person doesn't want to be here, and
Right.
it's best to just you start fresh, get someone else in the door. And so that's something that I wish I learned sooner is stop trying to hold on to the team. You may think, oh, this is like the OG crew, but sometimes people change and their life needs to change and go another direction. And you can't just hold on to them forever. You got to just kind of let them go. And there's always someone else will kind of fill that spot. So
I think that's the tough. I mean, Drew and I work through that all the time with Coffee de los Mayas because I'm like Cody. I'm like you, like that. Let's hang on. Could we just hang on? Like we've invested so much time. Is there something that we can do? And Drew gets to a point where he's like, nope, we're done. Like Drew's so good at like, nope, we're cutting bait and we're moving on. Like, and I think that it's so good to have a compliment. I think that Drew and I have got to really compliment each other as owners of a coffee business of, I can want the OG crew to always be around and I can want to nurture and nurture and nurture and hope. And Drew does too. Drew's got a great heart for it, but Drew comes to the buck stops here a lot faster than me. He's like, no, dude, like we've had this conversation more than once. They obviously don't want to be here. It's time to cut them loose, and I think that it's such a good thing because I do think you can waste a lot of time and energy trying and hoping and wishing somebody could turn out to be better and just realizing, but they're not right now. It doesn't mean that it won't be forever. It doesn't mean that even they're a bad person. It just means not right now. So I don't know, Drew, I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Well, I think one big signifier for me is when you have to start changing your systems to suit the people rather than just training the people to work the systems. And if they can't work it and they can't work it, then they're not the right people for at least wherever you have them seated in the business.
I definitely agree to that for sure. Not trying to change business. Obviously, you can listen to feedback and stuff, and maybe there is some things that you can do better as a company, but if everyone else is fitting into it and there's one person that's not, it's a pretty easy sign to say, okay, maybe that's not the right place.
I think one of the biggest pitfalls of this, and it seems to be especially so in the coffee industry, is it's really easy to get into this. We're a family as the shop. Like we're all best friends. We're all here for you, which is good. It's good culture to have good culture with your family or with your shop until it goes so far that you're like, oh wait, I can't fire you because we go out and we get off shifts and we hang out, and it's going to be weird if we go to the same spot. No, I just fired you an hour ago. Like it can tip really easily in the too familial side of things when it comes to coffee shops, because it is such a fun, engaging, like half of being a barista is just being around and talking to people. So you get to know your coworkers and your bosses really well, but you can kind of step over that line where it's like, oh, we're too close now, actually. And so if I do try to fire you, I'm going to have to go through this huge, like, emotional thing. And you're going to feel betrayed because I was just talking you up yesterday when we were hanging out, after work. And it's really tough. It's that hard line that at some point you have to draw, be like, okay, but I am your boss, actually. Like, I can't be your best friend and your boss all the time. And this is going to be a really hard conversation. I'm going to have to let you go. And then from there, you learn really quick, like, oh, maybe I can't hang out with my employees all the time after work at the local watering hole.
And also like the group, right? So if your team is so close that they're less willing to kind of not necessarily call each other out, but like correct things that are, they're making mistakes and, oh, it's okay. It's okay. I had to deal with that too. Is like telling the team, hey, like, it's great that we're all friends and that we can all get along, but also this is business. And if you see each other doing something incorrectly, like, you can step up and tell them, hey, like we need to change this. So I think that also plays into that too, is you kind of got to build a structure where it's, business first, but that, if you guys can get along, that's great. It's even better. Why not? So.
Yeah. It's tricky. Didn't you guys, wasn't that part of the original handbook at Roasters was like managers aren't supposed to be hanging out with baristas like that? Wasn't that one of the things that you guys did? Or was there some sort of like unspoken thing within Roasters? I thought I remember reading that.
I think Ben created
It
that.
didn't. Yeah, it didn't start that way. It was added in very quickly. After a certain point, I probably because I learned that lesson, I was like, oh, okay. Managers can't be like hanging out with baristas at the bar until 2 a.m. When they both have to work shift the next morning. I was like, there needs to be some like separation here. And again, like as a startup company, like it's just everybody's just let's just do whatever as long as there's customers in the drive-through. We're got one shop. I'm a new entrepreneur. I don't really care. Let's just have fun and get cars through. But when you've got 5 shops, 10 shops, 15 shops, you're not just a little startup anymore. Like there are larger rules that apply to you. There are, you know, HR incidents that can apply to you. If you have a manager
Right.
hanging out with a barista, doing things with the barista, there's a whole new world opens up of,
That's right.
civil lawsuits that can happen. And it's like,
Yeah.
nope, let's just say, managers can't hang out with baristas at the bar at 2 a.m. That's a no.
That was a good rule change there.
I think it's so tough though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think everybody wants a culture that people just enjoy being around, but it is that dividing line of, okay, so as a manager and usually you're ascending people up, right? That's probably something we should speak to here as well is most of the organizations that we've helped start do coffee, they're not hiring managers in from the outside, right? You're not like, oh, you manage that other chain. You're going to be great to come manage our chain. Like that, it doesn't work like that. You're from grassroots raising up, right? Which is so tough for a manager who probably started out like shoulder to shoulder with all of his other pals. And then he or she ascends up to this new role and now like can't be pals the same way. Like that's a
Yeah.
tough assumption, but it's
True.
also like, and you feel the push and pull. Cause Ben, I know there was a season when it was you and Wes at the very beginning where Wes is like, hey, I can't afford to pay you if you're willing to come into work hours, you can make tips, and like your whatever it takes attitude. Yeah. I mean, like your loyalty to the culture of back then is like, yeah, I'll show up at the freaking butt crack at dawn to not get paid an hourly rate and just make tips. Like that's a fierce loyalty. Like that's not, I mean, all of us on this call have done hiring, right? How many kids do we know would have said yes to what Ben said back then? Like nobody's doing that stuff at the
Especially
organization.
not now.
And I just think, so you want that kind of whatever it takes culture that obviously it was created back then, but at the same time, there is something to be said for as you grow bigger and bigger, that just can't be what it is as you continue to scale and look for next level growth, which is, it's a tough migration.
Well, yeah. And you're talking about like a braid switch from the owner. Like the owner knows what worked. And then you're saying, okay, you need to switch how you operate your entire business out because that doesn't work anymore. You can't do that.
I think, once you escalate to the point of being able to take care of people like that, you shouldn't want people who will work for free because there's some point of, they're going to become disgruntled, or expect certain things or, see things from a certain light. And they're not the owners, even if they feel like it or they want to feel like it, or you empower them to be like it. They're not the owners at the end of the day. So as an owner, like you should incentivize that type of behavior rather than taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I think something I've thought about with this like kind of newer generation, because I get, kids a lot that are, probably in their 18, 19 range. And, the thought or telling them about, maybe having an opportunity to, move up or do something. It's a very common response that it's just, well, does it include a pay raise? And so something I've always thought about is it feels like with the new generation and this younger kind of workforce generation that businesses need to be very, very clear on like what it is that you're doing, right? So here's how you get a pay raise. You get into this position, but these are the requirements that you do, kind of like lining it out before it's even talked about. That way it's not this kind of, well, what is it? Okay, well, do I get paid more? And then I don't want the position now. So it's like the more you can come to someone and then just like have this structure built out already saying, you can work to getting a lead. Here's how you get there. Here's what the pay would be if you are. And here's the requirements of you doing that job. So I don't know, just something I've been thinking about.
Yeah, that's very different than you're not my generation where it's like, you just work hard all the time, hoping that they'll notice and they'll be like, that guy I'll promote that guy. It's a good observation. It's completely different. You're right. Now it's like they're waiting for you to be like, would you like this opportunity to be this? And it's more in the employee side to be like, nah, I don't really want it. Or, no, you need to pay me more. Whereas us, it was like, gosh, I hope my manager notices me. And they notice how hard I've been working nonstop for the last, 365 days a year. It's a very different culture.
Yeah, we kind of waited for our opportunity, but worked hard to get that opportunity. And that's why I feel like if you had the structure lined out, like new hire, here's, you're a barista, but here's the, chances. If it's something that you like, you want to, move up in the company, here's our framework on how to get there. And then, pretty much putting it in their hands and seeing.
Yeah. Ben, you and I were starting to develop that towards the tail end of Roasters, right? Where it was like a customer, like a barista journey, like give them a roadmap. Hey, this is how you ascend within Roasters, and this will be your pay grade as you ascend up. And then, as you work from I think it was like a barista to a lead, to assistant, to a manager, to a regional manager, then to, potentially even a franchisee was the end of the destination. Like, and each opportunity you can have to move up, and like giving somebody like a roadmap so that they can even envision themselves on where is the trajectory? Where am I heading towards? And I think as you and I started rolling that out, I remember, Ben, you saying it brought so much relief even to the managers, because they felt the pressure of having to communicate that down to the people that worked for them. And they would get all these awkward questions that they didn't know the answers to, and so they would just wing it or whip something out there that they had pulled together. Who even knows if that's true Roasters culture back then, you know what I mean? But so I think it is like, put some thought into what's the trajectory? How do you grow people? Because people want to be grown, and this generation, I think, especially and so they can make the decisions. Cause I know there were people that we offered. What was Taryn's best friend? He's still around. I remember we offered Tim some sort of accelerated position, remember? And Tim's like, "Nah, I just want to continue to be him, and continue to do the Tim way, for the rest of my life. I just want to be a barista for all my days." You know what I'm saying? And I think there's some people, when they see the trajectory, they even know, no, I just know that's not where I want to go. I just know this is what I want to do, and I enjoy doing this,
I feel like it kind of saves you that trouble of like asking around, right? Like you're just going to kind of naturally see the people that are a little bit more like, hey, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this. I think that's what it kind of weeds out those people that are just like, no, I'm happy where I'm at. So
Totally true.
All righty, boys. Cody, dude, love seeing you, man. And I know we're going to have you back on another episode because you've got some cool things brewing in your heart that we're excited to hear about.
Right.
And man, thank you for your friendship all these years. You've helped us out so much on so many different levels. Really excited to see the things that you've grown into, and excited about what's coming next for you, man. So thanks for being a guest on Coffee Experts Club. Ben and Drew, always good to see you too as well.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you who are looking to become a coffee expert yourself, we offer an incredible, thorough training online for opening your first coffee drive-thru at www.myfirstdrivethru.coffee.
Thinking of all my friends in Indie Coffee Coalition, just thinking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars we've saved coffee shop owners just like you, who are not franchisees, who are looking for deals on their fat mix and their energy drinks. Why should the franchises get all the deals, right? Indie Coffee Coalition was built with the idea of saving you, the little guy, tons of cash. So if you're a coffee shop owner, you have 1 to 3 coffee shops, and you're serving blended drinks or energy drinks, we can substantially save you money and keep more money in your pocket. Set up a call. I'd love to talk with you. Indie Coffee Coalition, keeping money in your pocket.